What if I told you that getting into law school could become dramatically easier over the next few years, possibly easier than it's been in decades? Imagine a scenario where admissions committees are practically competing for your attention, where scholarships are more generous than ever, and where acceptance letters land in your inbox with far less blood, sweat, and tears. This might sound like a fairy tale for anyone who spent time in the grueling law school admissions world, but it's not. This is a real phenomenon triggered by a surprising factor: demographics. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why it's getting easier, how law schools are changing their standards to adapt, and what you can do to capitalize on these shifts so you secure not only admission, but also the best financial aid package possible. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz, and I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005. Over the years, I've seen sweeping changes in how law schools approach the admissions process. I've even seen it firsthand. I raised my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175, so I know what it takes to push your score into those higher ranges, and I've guided countless students to LSAT success and admission into top law schools. Now, of course, that's great for me, but why does it matter to you? Because I'm going to share the trends and shifts taking place in admissions before they become old news, giving you the inside track to exploit these changes for your own benefit. First, let's rewind to 2008. During the global financial crisis, birth rates in the U.S. plunged. Financial uncertainty led many families to delay or decide against having children, and this trend continued well after the economy began to recover. The net result is what demographers call a birth dearth or a demographic cliff. This is a sustained drop in the number of children born year after year. Fast forward to today, those who were not born in 2008 or 2009 aren't magically reappearing. Instead, each year's cohort of new high school graduates is smaller than before. And if there are fewer high school graduates, there are fewer college students. Eventually, that means fewer law school applicants. How big is this drop? It's pretty big. The U.S. birth rate is now about 20% lower than it was before 2008. That is massive, 20% lower. By 2026, many colleges will feel the pinch, struggling to fill their incoming classes. By 2030, law schools will be facing the full force of this demographic decline. And of course, most colleges and law schools rely heavily on tuition revenue, so fewer applicants and smaller class sizes can and will significantly threaten their financial stability. Now, you may be wondering, okay, fewer applicants overall, so what does that mean for me? The short answer: far less competition for you, which can manifest in four major ways. The first is lower admissions standards. Most schools will have no choice but to admit students with lower GPAs or LSAT scores just to fill those seats to get that tuition money. The second is bigger scholarships, because if there are fewer qualified candidates in the applicant pool, schools will have to sweeten their offers to secure the students they want. This could mean substantial scholarship packages, stipends, or grants. A lot of law schools will have to make the application process easier to get more applicants. Maybe they'll even be waiving application fees. And of course, it's also going to help you in the negotiation process, because when multiple law schools want you, you're the one with the leverage. This means you'll be able to negotiate better financial aid or choose law schools that maybe have smaller class sizes or other perks that come with being a more sought-after candidate. Of course, colleges and universities thrive on steady enrollment. Law schools in particular are especially tuition dependent. They've got to sustain budgets for faculty salaries, improvements to campus, and of course, scholarship funding. Because the demographic cliff poses a major threat to that revenue stream, schools are already putting in place contingency plans like expanding class sizes. That might sound counterintuitive. I mean, you might think to yourself, if there are fewer applicants, how can they expand class sizes? But the thing is, schools will attempt to maintain their overall enrollment revenue by admitting more borderline applicants. If each admitted student pays some tuition, especially if not everyone gets a full ride, the school's finances will look relatively better. Schools will also recruit more aggressively, as I mentioned earlier, more fee waivers. Maybe they'll also be more lenient in the deadlines, and they'll be doing more personalized outreach to even mid-range candidates. Of course, more programs are going to be offering flexible, part-time, online, or hybrid JDs to expand their applicant pool. Of course, remote learning exploded in popularity out of necessity during the pandemic, and law schools discovered that by offering such options, they could draw from a broader pool including working professionals and non-traditional students. So expect the ABA to continue to allow more students to offer those kinds of online programs. Now, it's important to note that this demographic trend won't affect all law schools equally. Some are relatively better positioned to withstand the decline, in particular, the elite law schools, the so-called top 14, including Harvard, Yale, and Stanford, and other similar institutions. They have the advantage of huge endowments, strong brand recognition, and a global pool of applicants. They're also not as tuition dependent as a lot of other mid-tier and lower-tier schools. They might see a very slight dip in total applications, but their reputations will keep them insulated from major upheaval. They're still going to want the highest LSAT scores and the highest GPAs to protect their status in the rankings. But if the overall applicant pool weakens, you might still see a small shift in the average or median stats. That being said, they will remain competitive, just a little bit more approachable than in the past. But the mid-tier schools, that's probably going to be the sweet spot for many applicants. Because these schools are less insulated by endowments, they're going to have to compete harder for students. That means they're giving out more scholarship monies, they'll have more flexible admissions policies, and overall better deals for you. Of course, their standards will not plummet to zero, but they will become more accommodating to borderline candidates, especially if you have an above median LSAT score for their range. Now, the lower tier schools, which are very heavily dependent on tuition money, they'll experience the greatest pressure from the demographic cliff. You can expect significantly relaxed admission standards, more scholarship money, and aggressive marketing efforts. They might offer you enticing financial deals, but keep in mind what are their job placement stats and their bar passage rates if you're considering a school like that. Now, a once-in-a-generation shift like this demands a thoughtful strategy in order to take full advantage of it. Here are some specific action steps you can take. First, cast a wide net. Do not apply to only 5 or 6 schools. This shift will create new opportunities at schools that might have once seemed out of reach. Consider a few reach schools in your overall school list and apply to at least 10 schools. Second, maximize your LSAT score. Even when schools are relaxing standards, the LSAT is still the biggest factor in admissions, and every extra point on your LSAT can translate to thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars in scholarship money. If you can get an LSAT above a school's median, you instantly become a more attractive candidate for scholarship offers. Then, of course, negotiate those scholarships aggressively. Schools will be more willing to negotiate, and if you get multiple offers, don't be shy about using them to secure better packages at your top choice schools. Also, if you're open to it, consider non-traditional programs like part-time, online, or hybrid programs that might allow you to achieve a more balanced life, especially if you have family obligations or work obligations in a particular region. Now, if you'd like my help boosting your LSAT score to capitalize on all these scholarship opportunities, these admissions opportunities, at LSAT Unplugged, we offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and personalized one-on-one coaching. And my approach is rooted in the same strategies that helped me raise my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. If you'd like to find out more, you could check out the links below to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. Now, remember that while the demographic cliff is powerful, it's not going to be permanent. By the mid-2030s, this system will have largely recalibrated. Schools will have adapted to smaller class sizes and will have stabilized their budgets, marketing, and recruitment. The opportunity for easier admissions and more scholarships, while significant coming up in the near future, it won't be quite as pronounced after the schools fully adjust. This is a relatively short-term window in the grand scheme, so timing your application to law school during this shift can give you substantial benefits. Now, you might be wondering, will the LSAT even matter in 2030? Isn't it going away? There's been a lot of headlines about recent changes with the LSAT relative to other test options for law school, like the GRE or the JD Next, but very few applicants are getting in with those alternative tests. I think only a couple dozen got in with the JD Next last year. The GRE is still fewer than 2% of successful applicants. So you're still going to want to bank on the LSAT as being the biggest factor in the admissions process. It's still a primary benchmark, especially when it comes to how schools are evaluated in the US News rankings. So don't count on it disappearing anytime soon. Bottom line, there is a unique window of opportunity right now. So if you've ever thought about going to law school, you might be able to get in more easily and get more scholarship money than ever. Schools that once felt like long shots may now be within reach. The next decade could be a golden era for new attorneys if you play your cards right. And so, if you want to take the next step in boosting your LSAT score and navigating these shifting waters, I invite you to reach out. My team and I have helped countless students strategize and maximize their offers, getting your scores into the 170s, and we'd love to do the same for you. Check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.